Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dominique. If you're new here, let's jump right in because we have a lot to cover in this video. So yeah, to get started, Miami is actually the third place that I've ever traveled to on a solo trip, Cancun and London being the other locations. And the difference with those other two places is that when I traveled to Cancun, Mexico on my own, I have family in Mexico, Cancun specifically, and so it wasn't like I was traveling there and not knowing a single soul. I had my uncle, and even though I was taking the bus and the taxis on my own and making my own friends and going out with them, having that person there that you know, that you can trust, and go back to is just really essential to like feeling safe and confident in that place on your own, as well as speaking the language. So I speak Spanish, and that helped a lot in traveling in a country that is Spanish. So yeah. London was different in the way that I was going there for work. So I interned right out of college for 2 months in London. And while I went there by myself, I stayed in my own dormitory by myself. I had everything set up to where a car picked me up from the airport and took me straight to my room. And I was careful that, it was the right car, it was the right driver. And I knew that I would make friends there along that work period that I was in London. So it was still courage, like I still had to channel courage and, prepare. That was different in the way that, I had that internship there waiting for me. So that said, I did a lot of research before I went to any of these places, knowing that, as a woman or even just as anyone, you need to walk down a well-lit main road. If you're in international travel, it's important to know the number of your embassy or where the office is located. So in an emergency, you know where to go, or the nearest police station. And so that is all of the things that you need to keep in mind while traveling, period, but especially when you're traveling alone. So Miami, I didn't realize that it was spring break when I spontaneously booked this solo trip this March. And I've been out of college or university for a few years. So I think that just part of information just erased from my mind. And so I didn't realize it was spring break when I was gonna go. And of course, you guys heard the news stories. There was a lot going on in South Beach with partying and spring breakers and all of that. So I actually stayed a little further north. So I kind of just purposely and intentionally avoided that whole area and stuck to mid-beach, where I was staying at a hostel called The Generator. The Generator was beautiful. They had a restaurant inside, gorgeous, like artsy, hipstery lobby, really cool people. I did end up in a like hostel like room where it's like bunk beds, and I knew that I had booked this, but I didn't know who I was going to be rooming with, and I ended up rooming with like 3 men, and that was an interesting experience in and of itself, but you just have to be mindful of each other's space, and they turned out to be really, really nice. I actually ended up grabbing a dinner with one of the guys on my second to last night, and so that was really fun, and you make friends that could potentially last you, all your life. And some others that you just meet as acquaintances and you have fun while you're there, and you also create like great memories in those experiences with them. So again, it's just important to do your research before you go to these places. Like, what is the weather gonna be like, and what are the places that you want to go to and eat at, as well as what's going on as far as like the climate of, or the vibe of the city that you're going to is, whether politically or culturally or just current events in general, because you want to be prepared for whatever. That is something that I should have done before going to Miami, knowing that there was spring break going on, but you know, that's a lesson learned, and you just learn that and keep it moving. So that said, I'm going to walk you through everything I did from like that first day that I got there to my last day. So I got there on a Friday. My last day was a Monday at like 10 p.m. at night, so that full Monday. And yeah, I arrived and it was really great. It was about 10:30 in the morning. I ended up taking a 2-hour bus ride, just jumping on different buses because they're actually free in Miami since COVID started. And I decided to take those all the way down to Miami Beach where I was staying, and it was really cool. You just kind of got to know where you're going. I did get on the wrong bus at one time, so that was interesting, but then you just like quickly pivot and you get on the right bus. And it's also the daytime, so it's extremely safe. If it would have been at night, since I was traveling by myself, I would have spent that like over $100 that it was gonna take to Uber down, but just being that I didn't wanna spend that money, and it was day, I decided to take the bus down, and it worked out, luckily. There are going to be moments or experiences that you don't anticipate, and when that happens, you just have to be smart and be vigilant. And for me, I used my phone throughout. That's the great thing about traveling domestically, is that I had no issues like with service or, you know, using my credit card when I needed to, or, you know, my ID or whatnot. So that was, you know, part of traveling to Miami, is that I had all of those resources ready and available. So getting to the hostel, I just quickly went and locked up my stuff. It's important that when you stay at a hostel versus a hotel, that you bring a lock so that you can lock up your stuff. Everyone has their own drawer or locker where they can like lock their stuff away. And so I knew that ahead of time. I brought my lock and just locked my stuff away, went downstairs to the restaurant of the hostel, had a drink, and that's where, you know, people started buying me drinks. And so I was feeling super welcomed, feeling the Miami vibe. It was great weather that entire weekend. And yeah, it was really, really nice. So going back to being smart when traveling alone, the thing about traveling solo is that you have to be open to making friends, but also being really vigilant about who you're making friends with, as well as the experiences that you're saying yes to, because even then things can happen. So you have to embrace things as they come at you, but also know what you're agreeing to and what you're okay with, as well as what your limits are. If something doesn't feel safe, don't do it. Just go with your gut and say no. That's probably one of the biggest takeaways from this trip, is learning to say no, but I'll come back to that. To tell a super quick story, while I was down there, I decided to sign up for a dating app. I don't really do dating apps, even in Atlanta where I'm from. It's not like my thing, and they're totally cool. I have friends that have even gotten married with people that they've met on dating apps. So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it's not everyone's thing, and it just happens to not be mine. But nonetheless, I decided to sign up for this dating app while I was in Miami so that I could meet people and just go on a date or something, have fun. And I didn't end up meeting with anyone, but just like signing up and talking to these people on this app just made me realize how, like, while I appreciate somebody being honest and persistent about what they want, and, you know, again, being truthful about that, there's also like, just no means no, and a maybe means no. So if I'm suggesting we meet in a public place because that's what makes me feel comfortable, and you're persistent about meeting in private, that's a red flag. And so that's hopefully, you know, at least one thing, if you take anything away from this video, is to not agree to that. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, again, I just listened to my intuition and I felt in my gut like that's not a good idea. I'm here by myself, number one, and number two, I don't know this person. And generally it tends to be like younger guys that are like, can be overly confident and presumptuous, and maybe it was because it was spring break. But that was just something I wasn't comfortable with, and this person was persistent about meeting in private, so that was a no. And that line can even be crossed with your own friends, and even the friends that you're making while on this experience. And again, just embracing things as they come. Good people can make mistakes too, and it's important to just be honest with them if they've crossed that line, or if they're doing something that makes you uncomfortable. Like, say no to that experience and to that person just off the rip, because then they're going to mistake that as interest. And for the people, just everyone out there, just because someone is friendly doesn't mean that they're interested in you. So don't assume that because they're being nice with you that they're interested in you. So yeah, it takes 2 seconds to ask someone, like, can I kiss you? Am I reading these vibes right? And for that person to respond, it really takes 2 seconds. And then you save yourself so much discomfort and embarrassment from, you know, doing something that you probably like shouldn't, you know, be doing. So back to the trip, that first night I end up making some friends. We go out to a gay club, have a blast. It was so much fun. End up walking home together. And again, just learning to say no to certain experiences or expectations that another person might be having just would have made my experience so much better. But besides that, I wouldn't change anything. If I had to do it again, I would just change that. About, you know, myself having spoken up more and communicated that more. Going into the next day, I just woke up, got breakfast from this hotel across the street called Faena. Ended up going to the beach all day, got a little bit sunburned, but overall had such an amazing time. Read my book, listened to music, and that's really what the trip was all about for me, was kind of like resetting and recharging. And just having that downtime to relax, because I feel like I really needed it. So I got to do that a little bit while I was on the beach the entire weekend, you know, just reading and listening to music and watching the waves like come back and forth. So that was really fun. And that night I decided to take myself to dinner in Wynwood, and I ended up at this restaurant called 1-800-LUCKY, which the bartender at my hostel had recommended. I looked it up, saw that it was legit, saw that it was affordable, and ended up going there for dinner. Got some delicious sushi. It was so good. And again, ended up making friends. You know, people see you like sitting alone, while it's spring break, they're gonna talk to you. So I was just, again, friendly and, you know, explained my situation without giving too many details away. I was always conscious to not say like where I was staying at, or, you know, that I was like traveling by myself. But yeah, just that I was having a dinner alone. And so that still like comes off a little maybe weird to people. And so you just gotta like deal with that and move on with it, because yeah, you're like having dinner by yourself. To me it's whatever, but to other people that might just seem off. So they actually end up inviting me to the bar next door where there's a DJ playing, and I accept. You know, I see that like the bar is right there, and it actually was a lot of fun. I just mainly danced by myself, got my own drinks. These, you know, friends that I had made at this party, like at this sushi place and then going next door to the bar, were super nice. None of them were presumptuous. It was a good time. It was like a co-ed group, so you know, a little more comfortable. And then the whole like, you know, club itself wasn't super jam-packed, and it was just a lot of fun. Like the music was incredible. I wish I could remember the DJ's name, because it was a really, really good time. It was like house music, so it was a lot of fun. And then jumping into Sunday, which was my second to last day. Each night, by the way, if it matters, I went to bed around midnight or 1, because actually the city had like set a curfew for 12 a.m. and then it became like 9 p.m. and then 8 p.m. later in the week that I was like leaving. So I always made sure to like Uber back if it was late at night, and just get to my hostel kind of around that curfew time. There was a lot of traffic, so I had to anticipate that. And especially in general, Miami has a lot of traffic, but especially during spring break, there was just a ton of people there. So be wary of that. But yeah, jumping into Sunday, which was my second to last day. Again, I got breakfast, ate it on the beach, just by myself, enjoyed the beach, went in the water, had a blast. Ended up taking myself to lunch one day to, or like a brunch, to this place called Market at Addition. Addition is a hotel. Pretty much all the restaurants are gonna be in hotels on the Miami Beach Strip. So I just picked some that were like looked affordable, that had like $2 signs on Yelp or whatever. And this place was one of them. So I went to Market, had brunch, was phenomenal. I highly recommend, 10/10. It was so good. And yeah, it's the Uber rides and the food is going to be expensive. It's especially in Miami, and especially in Miami during spring break. So just have that in mind, because it is something that I should have anticipated more. I knew it would be a lot of money, but I didn't expect it to be as much as it was. But overall, I think I did great in like spending what I should have, and as you know, as long as I felt safe, I felt like the price was, you know, worth it. Hi. It's my last full day in Miami. It's Sunday, almost 6 p.m. I believe. Yeah, tomorrow I have to be at the airport at 7:30 because my plane leaves at 10. But it's been a great trip so far. Just had another beach day today, and then probably gonna go grab dinner in a second. Tomorrow is gonna be fun. There's a boat ride that I'm taking, so can't wait to show you guys that. Bye. Then on Monday, which was my last day, I had a yacht ride planned. So I woke up, had a quick breakfast, and then went to off Miami Beach to Pier 3, closer to the Miami Design District, to, you know, get on the yacht ride, which was a tour of like kind of some of the celebrity homes that were in the area. It was gorgeous. The water and the weather throughout this entire trip was amazing. Water was crystal blue, a little chilly, but actually perfect for a super hot day, which it was. And so yeah, I ended up getting to the yacht at 1:30. Again, I'm by myself. There are 5 other spots on this boat ride, and so I didn't know who I would be paired with. If I would just be like that person, like, you know, being silent in the corner, just enjoying the ride and drinking a beer and, you know, enjoying the sun, or if I would could make friends. You know, I was just open to any possibilities. That's what you do when you're on an adventure. I ended up meeting these 5 girls who were celebrating, oh, my camera stopped, who were celebrating a birthday, and they were super cool, hilarious girls, and we just ended up having a blast on that 2-hour boat ride, and it was just super fun overall. So I highly recommend having at least one planned thing that you do. I knew I wanted to do a yacht ride before I left Atlanta, so I actually booked it before I got to Miami, and that was probably my favorite part of the trip, and besides the food, and was a perfect thing to do on my last day because it just left it on a really good note.